Kuon is a survival horror game set in Japan's Heian period, offering a rare historical twist on the genre. The story unfolds in an eerie Kyoto mansion, where ancient rituals and spiritual curses have awakened horrifying supernatural entities. Players control two female exorcists, Utsuki and Sakuya, each with their own storyline and path through the haunted estate. The game emphasizes atmosphere and dread over action. Instead of firearms, players use spells, talismans, and melee weapons to fend off ghosts and cursed creatures. Combat is slow and deliberate, forcing players to think carefully before engaging. Resource management and observation are key to survival in this dark, oppressive world. As players explore, they piece together a fragmented narrative filled with sorrow, loss, and family secrets. The game uses overlapping perspectives to tell the story from different angles, revealing deeper layers of the mystery. Players move between twisted hallways, cursed courtyards, and blood-stained altars haunted by Japanese spirits and demons. Kuon's visuals evoke a dreamlike, melancholic tone, with detailed hand-drawn textures and period-accurate architecture. The sound design relies on silence, whispers, and sudden audio cues to unsettle the player. Combined with dim lighting and surreal imagery, the game creates a deeply immersive and chilling atmosphere. Fun fact, Kuon was developed by From Software before they became famous for Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Due to its limited release, it has become a rare collector's item, and physical copies often sell for high prices. It's also notable for featuring two female protagonists in a genre typically led by male characters. Fatal Frame 2: Crimson Butterfly is a survival horror game released for PlayStation 2 in 2003 by Tecmo. It follows twin sisters Mio and Mayu Amakura, who stumble upon a cursed village lost in time. As they search for a way out, they uncover a terrifying past involving forbidden rituals, restless spirits, and tragic sacrifice, all told through a deeply emotional and haunting story. Gameplay centers around the iconic camera obscura, a mystical device used to capture and exorcise ghosts. Unlike other horror games, players don't fight with weapons, but must face enemies head-on, timing their shots for maximum damage. This mechanic adds intensity as the player must let ghosts get close to deal more effective blows, increasing the tension in every encounter. The setting, All God's Village, is beautifully rendered, blending traditional Japanese architecture with a sense of isolation and sorrow. As players explore abandoned houses, shrines, and graveyards, they uncover diary entries, film reels, and ghostly echoes that gradually reveal the horrific history of the place. The constant presence of spirits creates an atmosphere of dread. Visually and audibly, the game excels at building fear through subtlety. The ambient sounds of wind, footsteps, and distant cries replace loud music, enhancing immersion. Lighting plays a crucial role, with darkness obscuring threats until the last moment. The game's pacing allows fear to slowly build, leading to truly chilling moments of terror. Fun fact: Fatal Frame 2 is often considered the scariest in the series and one of the best horror games ever made. It was inspired by real Japanese ghost stories and urban legends. The game has multiple endings based on player actions, and even received an enhanced remake for the Wii with new scenes and motion controls. The Suffering Ties That Bind is a gritty action horror game, and a direct sequel to the original, The Suffering. It continues the story of Torque, an inmate haunted by both supernatural creatures and his violent past. Set in the grim streets and prisons of Baltimore, the game explores themes of guilt, madness, and redemption, as Torque uncovers the truth about his family and his crimes. Gameplay combines intense third-person shooting with psychological horror. Players battle grotesque monsters called malefactors, each representing different methods of punishment and human cruelty. Torque can also transform into a monstrous rage form, allowing brutal attacks. Choices made throughout the game affect Torque's morality and ultimately shape the ending. The environments are dark and oppressive, shifting between real-world urban decay and twisted hellscapes that reflect Torque's psyche. Flashbacks and hallucinations interrupt gameplay, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. The world feels alive with chaos, as audio cues and visual distortions constantly keep the player on edge. Ties That Bind deepens the narrative, expanding on Torka's background and introducing new characters, like Blackmore, a mysterious figure manipulating events behind the scenes. The game challenges players to consider whether Torque is truly a victim of fate or a man trying to outrun his sins. It's an emotionally charged, violent descent into a broken mind. Fun fact: The Suffering Ties That Bind was developed by Surreal Software and released in 2005. The game featured voice work by actor Michael Clark Duncan and included content pushing the edge of mature-rated titles. A morality system determines whether Torque is good, evil, or neutral. Each version slightly alters gameplay and cutscenes. Ghost Vibration is a lesser-known survival horror game developed by Artoon and released in 2003 exclusively in Japan and the parts of Europe. The game follows a young man named Bruce who enters a mysterious mansion to investigate a paranormal disturbance. Armed with a special device that detects spiritual energy, Bruce must uncover the dark secrets hiding within its haunted walls. Gameplay focuses on exploration, ghost encounters, and environmental puzzles. Instead of traditional weapons, players use a device that senses spirits and emits energy pulses to exorcise them. Battles involve timing and precision, and players must remain calm under pressure. The device also acts as a radar, creating tension with its frequent fluctuations. The mansion is eerie and filled with strange noises, moving furniture, and sudden ghostly appearances. Its design plays on claustrophobia and isolation, making every hallway feel like a trap. Ghosts manifest without warning, and the game's lighting and audio design contribute heavily to its suspenseful tone. It's a slow-burn horror experience, though its story is minimal compared to more narrative-heavy horror titles. Ghost Vibration offers a mysterious atmosphere. Players uncover the truth behind the supernatural phenomena through files and ghost encounters. The game keeps its plot vague, allowing the environment and unease to drive the experience forward. Fun fact: Ghost Vibration never saw a North American release, making it a hidden gem for collectors. The gameplay mechanics were often compared to Fatal Frame, though it lacked the polish and depth of more popular titles. Despite its flaws, it has gained a small cult following among fans of obscure horror games. Manhunt 2 is a stealth-based psychological horror game developed by Rockstar Games in 2007. The story follows Daniel Lamb, a former scientist who escapes from a mental institution with no memory of how he got there. As he navigates a brutal, decaying world, fragments of his past resurface, revealing disturbing experiments and a shadowy organization known as the Pigment Project. The gameplay blends stealth, survival, and violent execution mechanics. Players must move through dark environments while avoiding or silently eliminating enemies. The game's most controversial element is its execution system. Players can perform brutal takedowns with varying levels of intensity, depending on timing and stealth, often using improvised weapons like glass shards or syringes. Atmosphere plays a huge role in Manhunt 2. The environments range from grimy alleys and sewers to mental wards and rundown houses, all drenched in paranoia and dread. The visuals are gritty, with a constant sense of claustrophobia. The soundtrack uses dissonant noise and ambient tension to reflect Daniel's fractured mind and the violence surrounding him. The narrative slowly unravels Daniel's connection to a mind control experiment and his split personality. Cutscenes and hallucinations blur the line between reality and delusion, making the player question what's real. The story challenges players morally, especially through the game's decisions and violent imagery, pushing psychological horror to its limits. Fun fact: Manhunt 2 faced significant censorship issues and was banned in several countries. The PS2 version had a toned-down visual filter over executions to meet rating requirements. The game also features a hidden alternate ending, depending on player performance and choices made throughout the game. Forbidden Siren 2 is a survival horror game set on the mysterious Yamijima Island, plagued by supernatural events and grotesque creatures known as Shibido. After a blackout and tsunami, a group of survivors must uncover the truth behind the island's dark past. The game weaves multiple character stories through a complex timeline full of psychological horror and Japanese folklore. Gameplay focuses heavily on stealth and strategy. Players cannot rely on combat alone and must avoid detection by using a unique mechanic called sidejacking, a psychic ability to see through the eyes of enemies and NPCs. This allows for careful planning, but also increases tension as you witness threats through your enemies' perspectives in real time. The game features a fragmented narrative told from multiple viewpoints. Each character has unique goals and fears, and the non-linear structure encourages replaying stages to unlock new paths and uncover hidden lore. The oppressive atmosphere, cryptic storytelling, and surreal visuals contribute to a sense of unease throughout. Visually, Forbidden Siren 2 uses grainy filters and realistic character models to blur the line between the natural and the unnatural. Sound design is haunting whispers, static, and eerie cries follow players constantly. Combined with limited visibility and claustrophobic environments, the game maintains a relentless sense of dread. Fun fact, although never released in North America, Forbidden Siren 2 became a cult hit in Europe and Japan. It was directed by Keijiro Toyama, the creator of Silent Hill. The sidejacking system was praised for its originality and has never been fully replicated in other horror games. Developed by Sony in 2006. Gregory Horror Show is a unique survival horror game based on the cult Japanese CGI anime of the same name. You play as a lost soul trapped in Gregory House, a surreal and unsettling hotel filled with bizarre anthropomorphic guests. Your goal is to collect the souls of these other guests and escape before losing your own identity. Gameplay combines stealth, time management, and psychological tension. Each guest follows a strict daily routine, and you must learn their patterns to steal their soul. Getting caught can lead to disturbing confrontations, and players must hide, strategize, and use their limited items wisely. The hotel becomes more dangerous with each soul collected. The visual style is deliberately abstract, mimicking the show's blocky, cartoon-like look. Despite its playful art direction, the game maintains a deeply eerie tone. The guests are unpredictable, the music is disorienting, and the hotel itself feels alive, shifting from mildly odd to truly terrifying as your sanity begins to unravel. As the story progresses, themes of loneliness, madness, and purgatory become clear. Gregory, the host, serves as both guide and tormentor, blurring the line between friend and foe. The game doesn't rely on jump scares instead. It unsettles with repetition, unpredictability, and the sense that your every move is being watched. Fun fact, Gregory Horror Show was released only in Japan and Europe, making it a rare title for collectors, developed by Capcom in 2003. It's one of the few horror games based on an anime, and retains much of the show's strange charm. The anime itself aired in short episodes, and was known for its eerie atmosphere despite its simple animation style. Obscure is a survival horror game set in Leafmore High, where a group of students investigates the disappearance of their friend. What starts as a search turns into a nightmare when they discover that their school hides a terrifying secret. Mutated creatures, dark experiments, and a growing sense of dread lurk behind every door and hallway. Gameplay emphasizes teamwork and allows you to switch between characters or play cooperatively with a second player. Each student has unique abilities, like lockpicking or increased strength, which adds strategy to solving puzzles and surviving encounters. Combat is tense and resource limited, and light plays a crucial role in weakening enemies. The atmosphere is heavily inspired by teen horror films, blending Resident Evil-style gameplay with The Faculty or Scream aesthetics. Leafmore High feels like a normal school turned upside down. Classrooms are filled with twisted plant life, flickering lights, and unnatural shadows. The soundtrack intensifies the tension, with eerie ambient music and sudden stingers. As the story progresses, the group uncovers disturbing truths about the school's experiments involving a rare plant and grotesque mutations. Cutscenes and notes reveal that the horror is rooted in unethical scientific research. Trust between characters is tested, and some may not survive depending on your actions and decisions. Fun fact: Obscure was one of the few survival horror games on PS2 to feature full co-op play, making it a standout among solo-focused titles. Developed by Hydrovision Entertainment, released in 2004, the game was inspired by 90s horror movies and even featured a licensed soundtrack with songs by Sum 41 and Span. Rule of Rose is a psychological horror game set in 1930s England. You play as Jennifer, a young woman who becomes trapped in a twisted world, controlled by a group of cruel children aboard a derelict airship. The story explores trauma, grief, and childhood abuse, blending surreal imagery with disturbing symbolism and emotionally heavy themes. Gameplay focuses on exploration, puzzle solving, and light combat. Jennifer is not a strong fighter. She relies on basic weapons and must often evade enemies. The game emphasizes atmosphere and narrative over action. You're accompanied by a loyal dog, Brown, who helps find items and clues, adding a unique mechanic to progress through the eerie environments. Visually, the game is haunting, with muted colors, dreamlike architecture, and grotesque enemy designs that reflect the children's fears and fantasies. Music plays a vital role, featuring a melancholic orchestral score that enhances the tragic and oppressive tone. The level design shifts between the airship and surreal representations of Jennifer's memories. The narrative unfolds in fragmented sequences, slowly revealing Jennifer's connection to the children and the source of their hatred. Themes of bullying, isolation, and loss are handled with raw intensity. The game avoids traditional horror tropes, opting instead for emotional unease and psychological torment as its main form of fear. Fun fact: Rule of Rose was highly controversial upon release and was banned in several countries due to its perceived depictions of child abuse and disturbing subject matter. Despite low initial sales, it became a cult classic, praised for its storytelling and artistic direction. Today, it's one of the rarest and most expensive PS2 titles. Developed by Punchline, released in 2006. Haunting Ground is a survival horror game starring Fiona Belli, a young woman who wakes up in a mysterious castle after a car accident. Alone and confused, she soon realizes she's being hunted by deranged residents with twisted intentions. The game explores themes of vulnerability, captivity, and psychological fear in a hostile Gothic environment. Gameplay centers around evasion, puzzle solving, and using your canine companion, Huey. Fiona cannot fight effectively, so survival depends on running, hiding, and commanding Huey to attack or distract enemies. Managing Fiona's panic levels is key, as extreme fear can cause her to stumble or lose control, increasing tension during chase scenes. The castle is vast, eerie, and full of secrets, with dark corridors, antique decor, and haunting ambiance. Each pursuer has a distinct personality and motive, and the game gradually builds psychological pressure through relentless stalking and minimal safe zones. Music and sound design amplify the dread, creating an atmosphere of isolation and dread. As the story unfolds, Fiona uncovers disturbing truths about her captors, the experiments performed in the castle, and her own role in a deeper biological mystery. Themes of objectification and control are prevalent, adding emotional weight to the horror. The narrative subtly explores fear from a female perspective, rare for games of the time. Fun fact: Haunting Ground was developed by Capcom, released in 2005, and shares gameplay similarities with Clock Tower 3. Despite mixed reviews at launch, it gained a cult following thanks to its mature themes, atmospheric design, and the unique dog companion system. Today, it's considered one of the most haunting and sought-after titles on PS2. Thanks for watching.